NBA 2K is a series of basketball sports simulation video games developed by Visual Concepts and released annually since 1999. The premise of the series is to emulate the sport of basketball, and more specifically, the NBA. Over the years, the game has had its fair share of bugs, controversies, issues, and overall interesting facts throughout its history of the last 25 years. Today I'm going to go over the 2K Iceberg, which includes most of the game's interesting history throughout the years. The iceberg I'm using was made by Reddit user RapIsGoodKpopisbad, so all credit goes towards him on this. Anyways, let's get right into it. Ronnie 2K. Ronnie 2K, real name Ronnie Singh, is the head of lifestyle and content marketing of 2K Games and the face of the company. Back in the days of about 2K14 to 20, the community used to blame him for the franchise's many issues, bugs, and problems throughout the history. People slowly started to realize that he had no control over anything that was happening with the game's development, and he received less hate and backlash. He also appeared in the game with his own My Team card in 2K23. Microtransactions. This refers to the microtransactions that 2K has introduced throughout the years. Back in the older days of 2K, the only microtransaction was VC, and you really didn't need it for progression as long as you played the game for a significant amount of time. In 2K24, they decided to add a battle pass that you needed to pay for in order to get certain rewards, and not only that, but you can now purchase MT in order to progress further in My Team. Also, in my career, it is now significantly more difficult and time-consuming to grind for player upgrades unless you were to buy VC. Mike Wang. Mike Wang is the gameplay director and the most popular developer part of NBA 2K. Throughout the last couple of years, he has started to receive a lot more hate and backlash due to the franchise's issues and bugs, and he is known for acknowledging issues in the game that never seem to get fixed. My Team. My Team is one of the most popular game modes in NBA 2K. This mode consists of the player building a team that includes current and historic NBA players with variants of cards that highlight iconic and legendary career moments. My Team is mostly known for its pack pulling, where players would buy packs with 5 randomized items such as coaches, balls, courts, etc., with one player inside, and a chance to pull something like a pink diamond or a galaxy opal. This trend was made popular by 2K YouTubers back in the early to mid 2010s. The mode was introduced in NBA 2K13 and still continues to be one of the most popular modes in the most recent installment. My Career. My Career is arguably the most iconic and popular game mode in the entirety of 2K history. The mode consists of a player creating as my player in order to play through the NBA, making your own history and creating as much impact as possible throughout your career. The mode usually consists of a storyline throughout your rookie year, varying from creating a duo with a new teammate or having a rivalry with an old player you faced in college. The most popular inclusion of My Career is the My Park, where online players can face each other on 2v2 and 3v3 courts with their created character in order to gain rewards and rep. 2K YouTubers. This refers to the online personalities that were made popular from their videos and content based on NBA 2K, most notable being Jester the Laser, Cash Nasty Gaming, Los Polos TV, Agent 00, Troy Dan, and many others. This has led to a gain in the popularity not only for the game but also influencers in general. Many YouTubers got so popular due to their influence on the franchise that they were given the opportunity to create videos with NBA stars and have access to special 2K and NBA events. While 2K has had its good side of YouTube, there has also been many controversies involved, such as multiple members leaving the popular group 2Hype throughout the years due to allegations of mistreatment. 2K Playgrounds. 2K Playgrounds is a basketball game released on May 9th, 2017 for the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. The game was an NBA Jam and NBA Streets type game, including multiple game modes such as Tournament, Online, and Exhibition. All of these game modes required the player to pick 3 superstars to face on a blacktop court. Unlike the NBA 2K series, this game was meant to be more unrealistic and action-based. A year later, on October 16, 2018, NBA Playgrounds 2 was released. It was basically the same game, but with better AIs to make the graphics better. The series never took off or gained popularity, so it was never continued after that. 2K Community. The 2K community is the community surrounded around players who play NBA 2K and has been known as one of the bigger communities in gaming and sports. While this community is big and has a lot of players, it is also known to be one of the most toxic and unfriendly communities in gaming. People have been known to relentlessly trash talk to their online opponents, leading into blowout arguments and chaos.
Get on my level, bitch. Bye. Don't wait in line for an hour. You're my bitch. You're my bitch. I will get all your moms pregnant this weekend. I will get all 3 of your moms pregnant this weekend.
The 2K community also seems to have an imbalance of player-based skill due to a lot of players buying their way up to a higher overall, leading to other players getting upset over their opponents. Curry Slide. The Curry Slide is one of the most popular moves not only in NBA 2K but in basketball in general. The name has originated from a move that is commonly used by superstar Stephen Curry in order to shake his opponents off defense and get an open shot. In NBA 2K, it is considered one of the most broken moves in the game because when a player uses it, it can get them an open shot and a speed boost, leading to a scoring advantage. While it can be extremely difficult to defend, it can also become predictable if used too much and can become easy to counter against the right player. 2K International covers. The game cover of NBA 2K is one of the most anticipated part of each release because fans get to see which player has had the honor of making it onto the game's cover art for the year. In the past, 2K has made covers for specific countries with players from those countries, examples being 2K16 having Dennis Schroeder for the German edition, Danilo Gallinari for 2K17 Italy edition, DeMar DeRozan for 2K18 Canadian edition, Ben Simmons for 2K19 Australian edition, and a few others. Playable celebrities. Back in NBA 2K13, 2K had introduced a feature into the Play Now game mode with the celebrity teams from the All-Star game. The roster included celebrities like Justin Bieber, Sean Kingston, Meek Mill, and many others. Playable celebrities have never returned to 2K Play Now, and it is speculated it's due to the fact it was a huge blow to the game's budget for more important features. Some playable celebrities have returned in my team with playable cards like Quavo, Jack Harlow, and J. Cole. Rookie Showcase. Rookie Showcase was a feature in the game mode My Career that was introduced to the game in 2K12 and only lasted till 2K14. This was a part of the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions of the game where the player would have to showcase his skill in order to determine his placement in the draft for the game. It is unknown to why this feature was removed in later games, but is mostly speculated due to the fact that they included more advanced and better methods in later installments of the franchise. No demo for 2K22. Every single year from 2K11 to 2K21, there was a demo or a prelude where you could play a free demo of the upcoming 2K installment in order to get a feel for a game and to get excited of what's to come. In 2021, 2K announced that for its first time in 10 years, they would not be releasing a demo beforehand to give the players a preview, and instead the game would only be available if purchased on launch. Some players speculated it was because 2K knew the game wasn't as good as planned and was sloppy, and they didn't want players to make the decision of buying the game before it came out. The most likely reason, though, is due to the fact that since the games are now bigger and include more features such as a bigger city, the game is unfinished by the time that they would want to release a demo. Competition with NBA Live. NBA Live is another basketball video game franchise, but instead of being developed by 2K, it was developed by EA. The game was similar to 2K, but had different gameplay and visuals overall. Over the years, there were many debates which franchise was better, especially after 2K started to decline after 2K18, and NBA Live received a great reception that year. NBA Live 19 was the last installment to the franchise, and EA announced that NBA Live 20 was being cancelled due to them trying to expand to the newer generation of console. At the end, 2K outlived Live, even if 2K was on the huge decline at the time. Injuries. In various 2K game modes, there are realistic moments where one of your players or teammates can receive an injury that will put them out of the game. The injury can range from very minor to career-threatening, and it has become popular due to some of the injuries that have been listed for players. Some players have seen injuries such as helping their grandpa travel through space and time, injuring their finger while opening a pistachio, and even things as crazy as being framed for murder of the player's wife. Nobody knows why these injuries can be so absurd, but it's most likely a satirical joke on 2K's side just trying to give the player a laugh. Shaq's face scan. Over the years with technology improving, 2K has implemented face scanning into their games. This has made it where they could scan an NBA player's face and get a realistic looking image of them in the video game. Shaquille O'Neal has one of the most popular due to his face scan in 2K24 looking weird for players, to some saying that his face scan was meant for an older game. Nobody knows why he looks so weird compared to other superstars in the game, but it has caused controversy throughout the community, with players questioning if 2K is even putting effort into their games anymore. Charles Barkley and Reggie Miller. Charles Barkley and Reggie Miller are both historical NBA legends and Hall of Famers who have created a legacy and name for themselves throughout the years, not only as NBA players but as sports commentators as well. Neither have appeared in any 2K installments for any historical team they played on, and only one of them have ever had one My Team card. Charles Barkley commented in an interview that he refused to let 2K put him in the game due to them not paying retired players the amount he believes they deserve for appearing in the game.
That's a great question. I'm asked that question a lot. So they pay those guys to do it. And they make $300 million a year. And they pay the guys chump change. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I says, this is what I'll do. Because, just giving me some money doesn't help anybody. I said, give the old retired players $1 million and I'll be in the video game. They're like, well, we're going to pay you the same thing we pay others. I says, I'm not like the others. That's these other guys. I don't even know why they taking that money, because y'all make $300 million a year. Y'all not helping the old retired players.
Although he has said this, he did appear in NBA 2K17 with a pink diamond My Team card for the 92 Dream Team collection. It is unknown to why this is his only appearance, but it is unlikely we will ever see him or Reggie Miller appear in 2K again. Overpowered players. Overpowered players refers to the certain players in 2K games from past or present that were insanely overpowered for no reason whatsoever. It wasn't superstars like LeBron James or Kevin Durant, but it was random role players who seemed to play better in the video game than their real-life counterparts did. Some of these players include Rudy Gay from 2K11, Zach LaVine from 2K15, and the weirdest I've found, Bill Walker from 2K12. Nobody knows why these players were so overpowered and imbalanced, but if I had to guess, it would be due to the fact that they were less advanced in development back in the older games and would leave certain players' accolades and overalls too high. Allen Iverson 5 straight covers. At the start of the 2K franchise, NBA superstar Allen Iverson was the cover for the first 5 straight installments of the franchise. This is most likely due to his insane popularity back in the early 2000s, which would cause more exposure to the game and create popularity surrounding it. This would be backed up by them including one of the most popular players from each year in the next installments, with Ben Wallace in 2K5 and Shaq for 2K6 and 7. It hasn't been done with any other players since, and it will most likely never happen again due to the growth and popularity for the franchise and basketball in general. MSG and TD not in 2K. The New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics are two of the most popular NBA franchises, mostly due to the location and reputation throughout years in the league. Players have noticed throughout the years that MSG and TD Garden haven't appeared in 2K games, and they are just labeled as the Knicks or the Celtics court. This is due to the fact that EA Sports owns the licensing for both arenas and will most likely never get the rights to 2K in order to use them. Mike Wang worked for EA. Mike Wang, the gameplay director at 2K Sports, once left 2K in 2008 to join EA Sports in order to help make the NBA Live games. In 2018, Mike came out in an interview and said this.
I don't know. I think I hit kind of a rookie wall. I had never been at any company for longer than 2 years, really up until that point. And so I was kind of in this position of like, I wonder what else is out there. And just naively thinking, actually here's my twisted thinking.
Do it.
Twisted thinking was, I was looking at where NBA Live was, and I felt like they were behind us in a lot of ways. And I was like, but also like, I was looking at my own team and like, there's some things that I wish we would do differently, or wish we had, maybe we could be different in some ways. And so 2K8 for me was kind of a tougher year, because 7 was exciting for me. There's a lot of things that I was really excited that we were doing, and then 2K8 was a little more of a struggle. And I was like, my twisted thinking was, if I could go to EA and I could shore up gameplay, then maybe there'd be like this really heated rivalry between 2K and Live again, and then it would push the basketball genre forward.
Ultimately returned back to 2K games in 2010 and still continues to work on the franchise till this day. Removed classic teams. Every year in every 2K game, they have included the feature of classic and historical teams, where you were able to play as historical teams from the past and play now. The teams ranged between the 1960s to the 2010s, but throughout the years they have removed certain classic teams and the reason is unknown. Some examples of this are the 1971-72 Lakers, the 84-85 Sixers, the 70-71 Hawks, the 89-90 Hawks, and even the 07-08 Hornets made an appearance in 2K19 and then never returned again. 2K also hasn't added any new historical teams since 2K21, those being the 17-18 Warriors and the 18-19 Raptors. Zion and all-time Pelicans. Back in 2019, Zion Williamson was drafted first overall in the NBA draft to the New Orleans Pelicans. He was one of the most anticipated and hyped up athletes coming into the league, and everyone knew he was going to be going number one no matter what. In NBA 2K20, before his rookie year even started, he made an appearance on the Pelicans' all-time roster alongside players like Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, Baron Davis, etc. People were curious to why they would include him into the all-time roster before you even play a game in the NBA. He ended up tearing his meniscus during the 2019-20 season and never got a chance to show off his full potential his rookie year. I believe that he was put onto the Pelicans' all-time roster just simply due to the lack of superstar talent the franchise has had throughout its history. The all-time also includes players like Lonzo Ball, Eric Gordon, Julius Randle, Tyson Chandler, which all of them you wouldn't expect to see on an all-time roster. Controversy. This could refer to dozens of things since 2K is known for having its fair share of controversy, but I think this refers to the case of Hayden vs 2K games. Back in 2017, tattoo artist James Hayden filed a lawsuit over 2K's realistic portrayal of his tattoo designs on NBA players. The lawsuit didn't reach a verdict until 7 years later in April of 2024, where the jury reached a verdict in favor of 2K Games, claiming that the company had an implied license to use the images. Hayden also failed to disclose that 4 of his 6 tattoos included in the lawsuit were already pre-existing art that didn't qualify for original copyright. The 2K Curse. The 2K Curse refers to the superstition surrounding the cover athletes from each year that claims when an athlete is chosen for the cover of 2K, his season is cursed and maybe even the rest of their careers. This is backed up by evidence throughout the years of many departures and losses from the cover athletes that seem to appear in the years of those events that occur. Examples being in 2014 when LeBron was chosen for the 2K14 cover, he ended up losing the finals that same year and returned to Cleveland. In 2016, Stephen Curry was chosen as one of the cover athletes, and that same year the Warriors ended up blowing a 3-1 lead in the finals and losing to the Cleveland Cavaliers. In 2017, Paul George was chosen for the 2K17 cover, and the following year he requested a trade and ended up going to Oklahoma City. Even in 2K18, Kyrie Irving was announced to be the cover athlete, and he requested a trade from Cleveland that same summer. He ended up going to Boston, and they had to change the cover art to him in a Celtics jersey. These are just a few examples of the many players who get the honor of being on the cover just to leave their current team the following season. 2K17 loading screen. In every 2K game, when you load up the game, you are greeted by a loading screen that has a picture of the cover athlete from that year. Back in 2K17, there was a popular issue/glitch where players would experience being stuck on the game's loading screen for several minutes at a time. Some players would either wait the timeout and figure out there was a glitch, or they would restart their game and try again. Weirdly enough, some players reported that uninstalling and reinstalling the game would fix the issue, and nobody knows why. Players reported that even after that, they were still experiencing the issue days later. The issue wasn't prevalent at the start of the game's life, but for some reason ended up becoming an issue around the game's update in November of 2016. Till this day, nobody knows why this was such a huge problem within the game, and it was never fixed or solved by the 2K development team. It was such a popular issue that it started to become an inside joke throughout the community. ESPN Basketball. Back in 2003, 2K had announced the release of 2K4, but instead of being called 2K4, it went by the name of ESPN Basketball. This was the first time that 2K went by a different name for its game, but not the only time because 2K5 was called ESPN NBA 2K5. This was most likely due to Sega owning the right to the 2K games at the time, and Sega also reaching agreements in 2002 with ESPN that would give them the opportunity to produce multiple sports games under ESPN like 2K and NFL games. Not even a full year later, 2K was bought out by Take-Two and they have remained with them since. Vic Van Leer. In NBA 2K16's My Career mode, you played as an NBA prospect named Freak, who is one of the most anticipated and upcoming NBA players in the storyline. There were other characters too, such as his twin sister Cece, who is also his manager, his parents Pete and Mrs. Martha, and last but not least, Freak's best friend Vic Van Leer. Vic was known as an attempted hip-hop artist and troublemaker, who was always making things harder on Freak, but at the end of the day they were best friends and Freak loved Vic like a brother. Later in your career, during your first free agency period, after you make the decision on which team to go to, Freak and his family are celebrating his announcement when Freak receives a call from a police officer on Vic's phone, telling Freak that Vic had passed away in a car accident due to a chase.
Who's this?
This is Officer Vasquez with the 9th Precinct.
Officer Vasquez? What did Vic do now?
Mr. Freak, there's been an accident. Look, we're gonna need you to come down to the following address as soon as possible.
What kind of accident? Put Vic on the phone.
I can't do that, sir.
No, you're not hearing me. I want to talk to Vic.
Look, sir, we need you to calm down as soon as you can.
No. Hey, listen. Put down the phone, and I don't want to hear it get picked up until Victor Van Leer's on the phone.
Give me the phone. Vic died in a car accident.
What?
Yeah, they said he was in a car chase.
No.
Freak, I'm sorry. He died.
This is eerie because in Vic's final scene, he had written a letter to Freak about his depression and struggle throughout life.
Freak was king, and me, a big, fat zero. She was cool, though. Chill. And when she wasn't being all uptight, that girl was mad funny. I could see why you fell in love with her. She could make any man better.
Dodgeball glitch. 2K has always done events in my park ranging from cage matches to dodgeball and many others. In 2K20, when Red vs. Blue Ball released on the East Coast around 4 a.m., in 2K fashion, they didn't check it at all. So if your team won instead of the top player Red vs. Blue Ball getting a jersey and 50k, everyone who won on that team would get 50k in the jersey. But not only did the whole team get 50k, every time you won the match you got 50k, so not just a single one amount of time. Guys nearly got 1 million VC in one night. It was patched the same morning and a lot of people got their VC taken away. Most players made max bills and spent it all before it ended up happening though. Rookies in 2K12. Back in NBA 2K12, 2K had implemented a feature where you could unlock 15 previous legends from NBA history and use them in-game. This would be a huge thing for the game because they never included legends or historical teams before. While this was a cool feature, 2K announced that they would be unable to add rookies to the game's launch due to licensing rights, which caused them to miss out on players like Kyrie Irving and Derrick Williams. This was due to the fact that in 2011 the NBA had gone into a lockout that lasted until December due to the expiration of the 2005 NBA collective bargaining agreement. This would cause many players to miss out on the beginning of their rookie season, and many veterans to participate in pro-ams, charity events, and just pick up leagues that lasted throughout the summer and fall. On December 8th of 2011, the NBA had reached an agreement and the season was continued after all. 2K crush on Zion. 2K obviously doesn't have a literal crush on Zion whatsoever, but the community has claimed over the last couple of years that 2K has given Zion way too much for how little he's been in the league and how little he's played. This started with 2K20 when he was announced to be in the next-gen cover athlete for the game before even playing a full season, and he was also included in the all-time Pelicans team before even playing a minute in the league. This led to fans of the games questioning why he would receive such a high honor before establishing himself as a superstar caliber player. Players of the game have also complained that he is given way too high of an overall for how little he has played and how often he is injured. In the current 2K, Zion is given an 88 overall and is considered to be a playmaking slasher. DeAndre Ayton breaking console. DeAndre Ayton is an NBA player who was drafted first overall to the Phoenix Suns in 2018 and currently plays for the Portland Trail Blazers. In 2018, a video was posted of DeAndre Ayton in college showing off a broken PlayStation 4 and a PlayStation 4 controller. Ayton was saying things about how the game was awful and how they better never put him in the game because they make it easy for bums to win.
18, that's shit! Don't ever put me in that fucking game! That game is shit! I'll sue the fuck out y'all if y'all put me in that fucking game! The fuck?
Yo, where the controller at, bro?
That game is shit! You niggas made it easy for bums! This bum ass nigga, bro! He's shit!
Yeah, look at this.
16 to 17 was the best fucking game!
The video went viral not because of his rage, but because people were agreeing with him. 2K18 is still known as one of the least popular and worst 2K games to date. Even despite all of this, in 2K19 after DeAndre Ayton was drafted, he received a face scan for his appearance in the game. Predictive programming. Predictive programming is a conspiracy or idea that certain medias hide tragedies and events inside themselves before they happen, which leads to the public softening up instead of posing the idea of foreshadowed. One of the best examples of this could be the animated series The Simpsons predicting things in future years or decades before they happen. This theory for NBA 2K claims that 2K has had programming in their My League game mode, where players would choose an NBA team to sim through the season and build their own roster in order to win a championship. This is backed up by the fact that My League seems to have insanely accurate predictions for upcoming seasons when you sim through them. The best example I can really think of is in 2K22, because I used to have a ton of experience with the Celtics and Nuggets winning championships left and right through the upcoming years. The last 2 seasons, those teams have won a title, which is obviously a coincidence, but it's cool to think that 2K has such an accurate AI where you could realistically predict finals winners. I've also had experiences in the past with playing my favorite team, the Cavaliers, where I'd pick certain players to join my team, such as Jarrett Allen and Donovan Mitchell, just for them to eventually join the team in real life. 2K games and Sega Sports. Back when NBA 2K first released, it was developed and produced by Sega Sports, and this was the case for about 5 years. In 2001, Sega announced that they would be discontinuing all manufacturers of the Dreamcast consoles and would instead start making third-party installments. Sega continued to manufacture 2K games until 2005 when they sold Visual Concepts and 2K games to Take-Two Interactive. This was because after the discontinuation of the Dreamcast, Sega had a really hard time selling their games on other consoles, especially after losing the license to NFL games. It wasn't worth it to them anymore, and Sega tried to team up with Take-Two, but ultimately Take-Two took full control of the franchise and even owns Sega in current day. 2K makes bad games on purpose. This theory suggests that over the last couple years or so, 2K has intentionally made their games worse and more buggy for whatever unknown reason. This could be backed up by evidence that 2K seems to acknowledge issues throughout the game but never actually seems to fix them, and in some cases they've actually become worse. This could also be backed up by the multiple forms of microtransactions that they've added to 2K24, including a battle pass, MT coins, and having to buy BC in order to upgrade your MyPlayer consistently. In my opinion, I don't believe 2K is intentionally making bad games, but I do believe that they are just getting lazier and lazier, and when people have already purchased the game, they don't really feel the need to improve the game any further, and they decide to see how much they could possibly get away with. Luka Doncic in 2K17. Luka Doncic is a Slovenian NBA player who was drafted 3rd overall in 2018 to the Atlanta Hawks, but eventually traded to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Trae Young. In NBA 2K17, 2 years before he was drafted into the league, he had made an appearance for Real Madrid's basketball team because 2K used to include international teams onto the rosters. Luka was only 16 years old at the time, and he was technically the youngest player on 2K roster. The only thing is, nobody knew at the time, because he wasn't as popular in America and he didn't even have a face scan. In fact, he was only a 59 overall at the time. Luka went on to become the cover athlete just 5 years later, and he's now become a 95 overall in 2K24. 2K is rigged. This theory claims that in my career, 2K has rigged the game in order to make your character look bad or to cause the player of the game to purchase VC in order to upgrade attributes and certain skills on your player. This is backed up by the fact that many players claim to miss wide open dunks or layups, and they can never seem to shake a defender even if it's a random role player. There has also been evidence to where your my player will pass the ball to an open teammate, just for the teammate not to shoot the ball or try to get the assist, and heavily contested teammates shooting the ball when you are wide open. Players have even tested out the coding, replaying the same game over and over to see if the AI changes or if the game just seems to be any different. Players who have done this have reported to being blown out by the opposing team every time, or their teammates running the same plays over and over again. It has been proven that this is most likely done by 2K intentionally, but it also isn't a known fact. Charles Barkley in 2K13. Like I stated previously, NBA legend Charles Barkley has said in interviews that he refuses to let 2K put him into the game because he feels like they should be contributing to the Retired Players Association more than they do. In NBA 2K13, 2K included the addition of the 92 Dream Team for the first time, and Charles Barkley was included on a Play Now roster for the first and only time in 2K history. He later on received a My Team card in 2K17, but that was the only appearance he made in that game, and hasn't been in any other 2K since. Nobody knows why these were the only times Barkley made an appearance as a playable character, but it was most likely due to the fact that those were the only years that they were able to come to an agreement on a deal. Shaq was 100 overall. Shaquille O'Neal is one of, if not the most dominant center in NBA history, and back in NBA 2K2, he was the only player in the game's entire history to receive 100 overall outside of My Team. It isn't clear why he was the only player, but it's most likely due to the fact that he was the most dominant and one of the best players in the league at the time. Shaq was coming off 28.7 points, 12.7 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 2.8 blocks per game in the 2000-2001 NBA season. He had also won MVP in the 1999-2000 NBA season, and coming into NBA 2K2, he had won back-to-back titles and back-to-back Finals MVPs. He would later go on to win another title the same year and also win the third Finals MVP in a row. Unskippable ads. Back in NBA 2K21, 2K announced that in pre-games and in 2K TV, the player would have to deal with unskippable ads you would have to watch before getting into a game. This received a lot of backlash and made a lot of players in the community furious because they believed that they shouldn't have to deal with ads in a game that they already paid $60 for. Later on in October of 2020, 2K announced that unskippable ads were unintentional in pre-games and they were only meant for 2K TV, but promised to add a fix throughout the entire game to get rid of unskippable ads in general. 2K most likely didn't implement this feature as a mistake, but instead saw the amount of backlash it created throughout the community and decided to scrap it before it got out of hand. Auction house removed. Ever since My Team was introduced to 2K games back in 2013, it has always contained an auction house feature where players had the ability to buy and sell cards of their choice for a certain price of MT. The player could either bid on the card or buy the card if given the option, but in 2K24, players had noticed that the auction house feature was removed from the game after a decade of being a staple feature in the My Team game mode. One of the biggest reasons for this removal was because players were using the market in order to buy and sell coins for real-life currency. 2K did replace the auction house with a new feature called the player market, where players were able to buy cards they wanted directly from 2K instead of other players who were selling them. This ended up ultimately causing backlash from the community, as people saw it as one of the most iconic and interesting features in the game. Hidden files. Back in 2K20, players of the PC edition of the game had figured out how to access hidden files throughout the game's directory that was only meant to be seen by development and not the public. These files included many face scans for rookies and veteran players, some that were newer, some that were updated and planned to be released in a future update of the game. They were also able to find hidden face scans of celebrities such as DaBaby, Nav, and Lil Pump. These face scans were most likely taken in order to give these celebrities their own look inside the game for when they played as their My Player, and were never meant to be released to the public in order to play them. NBA 2K League Fight. The NBA 2K League is an esports league that is funded and supported by the NBA and Take-Two Interactive. Every year, pro players of the game are drafted to certain teams in the league in order to compete in 5v5 tournaments for a certain amount of money. Back in 2019, the Hawks played the Celtics in a tournament match, and the Hawks ended up winning by 10 points. After the match had ended, Rando, a player for the Hawks, got up to shake a Celtics player's hand, who went by the name of OFAB. When Rando went to shake his hand, OFAB gave him a shoulder and then shortly after shoved Rando at full force. Nobody knows why he got so heated, but another pro player who was present said that a lot of trash talk was exchanged during the game. What most likely occurred is Rando said something after OFAB refused to shake hands, and it set OFAB off. He was later suspended for the remainder of the 2020 league season. 2K devs receiving death threats. Throughout the years of gaming, toxicity has seemed to risen so far to the point where certain players of certain games are willing to go as far as sending death threats to the developers of those games because of their anger towards the game. The best examples of this are the Flappy Bird creator taking his game off the App Store due to the amount of threats he was receiving, and more recently, Power World's team receiving threats due to claims of being a Pokemon ripoff. This is very common throughout the 2K community though, where people have gone as far to create petitions claiming that Ronnie 2K and Mike Wang should be subjected to the death sentence, and comments saying that they deserve to be dead for ruining the franchise. Obviously this isn't okay, but the community has shown throughout the years how much they do not care, and how far they are willing to go due to the game's decline. Zens. Zens are a technological device used commonly by players in my park. The device is used to manipulate the game in order to make all of your shots, no matter how contested you are and no matter how bad of a shot it is. This is a huge issue that is common in more recent 2K games, and even when the development team has tried to attempt to patch the ability to use them in the past, it never seemed to work and the issue just seemed to get worse and worse. Eventually, in NBA 2K24, they finally figured out a patch for them, and now they no longer work in the game. Getting ejected. Throughout the history of 2K, they have attempted to improve on the games by trying to become as realistic as possible to real-life NBA basketball. One of the most noticeable features from this is the feature of being ejected, where your player could be ejected from the game if he received a flagrant foul or committed 6 fouls in the game. Even back in 2K15 My Career, there was a feature where you were able to argue with the ref in game, which would lead to your My Player being ejected from the game, and a cool little detail cutscene that hasn't been in the franchise since.
Punk, you can't stop me, so you gonna try to take me out? Nah, man, forget that. What? You gonna toss me? You should kick his sorry butt out. I ain't even do nothing.
Malice at the Palace 2K11. Malice at the Palace is the most infamous brawl in NBA history. In 2004, during a game of the Indiana Pacers versus the Detroit Pistons, Ben Wallace had started a fight with Ron Artest that led to both benches being cleared. A fan ended up throwing a beer on Ron Artest, which caused him to jump into the stands and attack the fan. This led to a full-blown riot in the stadium with fans throwing food and drinks onto the tunnel floor, and police eventually having to interfere with the scuffle. It led to 3 suspensions, most noticeably Ron Artest, who received the longest suspension in NBA history at 86 games. I wasn't really able to find any evidence that suggests 2K11 mentions the event, but if I really had to guess, I would assume that if you choose the Pistons or the Pacers, the announcers would bring up the event and talk about it for a short period of time. This would not be unlikely due to 2K announcers having accurate stats, accolades, and history for players on the team you play as. Cheat codes. Back in older 2K games, there was a feature where you could enter cheat codes in order to unlock certain teams, merchandise, or VC. Some of the most notable are 2K China, which unlocked a 2K Chinese basketball team. Another one in a later 2K unlocked Christmas uniforms that you could use for teams that had access to them. The last game to include cheat codes was 2K13, and they instead started to include locker codes, which were codes that players could use to unlock certain cards in My Team and other features such as VC and My Career items. Auction House bots. The auction house is a feature in 2K's My Team game mode where players can list certain cards for other players to bid on immediately if given the option. This became popular throughout the years due to scavenging, where players would list lower tier cards for cheap in order to get quick MT. Players of My Team have claimed that there are bots in the auction house because while bidding, they are immediately outbid almost instantly by another player for the card. This would increase the card's price and overall gain for more profit of MT for the players selling the card. Players have also reported seeing the exact same card listed on the auction house within seconds of each other, further trying to prove that there aren't that many players who own the same cards, and it's not coincidental that they would post them within the same minutes of each other. 2K12 on PS2. NBA 2K12 was released on October 4th, 2011. It was mostly purchased and played on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 consoles, but also released for Windows, Nintendo Wii, PSP, iOS, and PlayStation 2 devices. Many players who purchased the game for PS2 complained that the game ran horribly on the console, and it was similar to older versions of 2K, and in some cases even worse. This would make sense because the end of life for PS2 came at the end of 2012, just over a year after 2K12 was released for the console. At the time, Xbox 360 and PS3 were the newer consoles, and games were being optimized for those consoles, but some were still being released to the older generations of consoles and ran significantly different than current generation versions of the games. Custom shirt incident. Back in 2K18, they included many new features to the game, such as the neighborhood, the arcade, and one that fans seemed to love the most, custom clothing. This would allow players to create custom t-shirts with custom images and designs and put them online for other players to wear and use. They had removed this feature from the franchise in the future, but ultimately brought it back in 2K22. That didn't last long though, because within the first couple weeks of the game's release, players were printing inappropriate images and copyrighted logos and designs from companies that 2K had no association with. They ended up removing the feature just under a month with it being included in the game and never spoke a word about it. 2K is committing crime/sins. This theory suggests that 2K Games is committing sins in what should be a crime due to their greed and amount of features that include microtransactions throughout the game in the last few years. People have claimed that 2K is purely robbing and scamming players of their money, and even YouTuber Chris Smoove has mentioned that 2K24 was just a scam money grab, and he's been playing the franchise for longer than a decade now.
Lobs like crazy. It's a marketing gimmick. It's a marketing gimmick because they want to sell the floor setters, which are supposed to hold your badges at this level. You can't go lower than that level on the floor setter. They're trying to sell you that on the season pass. Yeah.
This is backed up by evidence in 2K24 how it's literally impossible to make any progression without spending money on VC. They cap out your initial My Player at 85, so you have to continue to play the game just to spend more money simply because attributes cost goes up more you upgrade them. They have also included rebirth builds, which gives you a new My Player with a bunch of badges, but you still have to upgrade their attributes in order to become a good player with that My Player. Many people have complained that for a $70 game there should not be this many microtransactions, and that it should be considered a crime what 2K does in order to require players to play better. Arms glitch in 2K12. Back in NBA 2K12, there was a popular glitch where players would experience an NBA player's arms being the opposite skin color of their normal arms or face. One of the most popular examples is when Jeremy Lin was given arms that had sleeves of tattoos on both sides and was the opposite of his normal skin tone. Nobody knows why this glitch was happening, and there really wasn't any good fix or patch for the glitch unless the player went through a process of reinstalling the roster in the game. This was mostly seen with rookies and could be speculated this happened due to lack of development on lesser known players, causing them to have a mix-up with different colored arms. 2K hates their fan base. This correlates well with the theory of 2K committing crimes, suggesting that 2K intentionally hates their fans, and that's why they continue to scam them year by year. One of the things that seems to be most prevalent with each year of 2K releases is the fact that they fail to show off gameplay each year, which is one of the biggest fan requests from the community. 2K never seems to really listen to their fans, and they always seem to disregard any concern or problem that someone reports about the game. There has also been many requests such as playable dunk contests and 3-point contests, to which 2K never adds each year. People have claimed that the company doesn't care about their fans whatsoever, and there's multiple pieces of evidence to prove it. 2K rigs pack odds for YouTubers. The final theory on this iceberg claims that 2K has rigged pack odds for YouTubers who open them on videos simply so players think the odds are good and decide to go out and buy some themselves. The reason for this is because YouTubers seem to always have the best pack odds when it comes to pulling great cards, even when players have reported those packs being horrible for opening cards. I don't believe this is true because I don't see how 2K would be able to tell who is opening their packs, regardless of player name or YouTuber name. In my opinion, I think pack odds in general are rigged because they advertise the best cards all the time just to have a negative 1% chance of getting those cards. Players have reported that the odds are reset with every pack you open, and even some YouTubers like Troydan has experienced these issues where he has spent thousands of dollars on packs for specific players just to never receive them. Well, that's all I got for this iceberg. That took a really long time. That took a lot of my dedication to make. So if you enjoyed it, if you made it to the end of the video, I would really appreciate it if you left a like or left a comment letting me know how you liked it. Also leave down in the comments below if I missed any theories or just anything in general on this iceberg. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. So anyways, I'll see y'all later. Thank you for watching.